Hello and welcome to another vlog of the Dinner Done Travelling Coffee Cup. Today's vlog is about an event that happened 20 years ago. The date of this event was the 28th of February 2001. The event took place outside the little Yorkshire town of Great Heck, which is between Pontefract and Goole on the M62, which is the motorway that links the northwest with Yorkshire and the northeast. Now, this event was probably it's not a disaster, and it was an accident that, if three things hadn't been put together, it wouldn't have happened. But this series of events that took place that led up to this made it Britain's worst rail disaster of the 21st century. Now, this disaster happened at around 6:15 AM and it involved a Land Rover Defender, a Freightliner freight train and a GNER Intercity 225 going from Newcastle to London King's Cross. Now, given the time of day that this was, roads were pretty quiet, the train wasn't full, and it was just a normal morning in February until the Land Rover Defender, driven by Gary Hart, who was also transporting another car on a trailer, a Renault Savannah, went down the embankment of the M62 motorway and then went through a wooden fence and onto the southbound track of the East Coast Main Line. Gary Hart's got to the bottom of this embankment and has tried to reverse. He's failed to do so. He's got out of his car, and phoned the emergency services. Around the time he's had this crash through the wooden fence down the embankment and onto the southbound line of the East Coast Main Line, which is quite a busy route in Britain, one of the first services of the day from Newcastle down to London King's Cross is coming through. Now, this Class 225 is made up of 9 cars with the driver train at the front and the dummy one at the back. The reason they like that is so you can drive it from both ends without having to waste time putting one train at the front and one train at the back. Now, this train is designed to go 125 miles an hour. At the time, fortunately, it was only going at around 88 miles an hour. And this GNER train, even if the driver slammed the brakes on, he's going to hit this train, because if the train's going 88 miles an hour, it doesn't just stop. It takes time for it to stop. And this Class 225 hits the Land Rover Defender square. It just straight into it. Now, the front bogie, which is basically what connects the loco to the track, it's got the wheels on, comes off because of the force of the impact. So this train's now derailing. It's having an accident. And it carries on for about 600, 700 metres. And it encounters a set of points. This set of points sets it on a collision course with a Freightliner Class 66 locomotive. Now, the driver of the Freightliner was on a test route with another driver, just to get him used to the route and familiarise himself. Now, can you imagine what he is seeing in front of him? This Intercity 225 coming off the track. He hasn't got time to brake. He hasn't got time to slam the emergency brakes on. He knows he's heading for this accident. I just cannot imagine what he has seen coming towards him. Now, where those points are and what happened to those wheels has put him on a collision course. And also what's happened is the driver train at the front has stayed upright. So even though it's hit a car square and it's lost its front bogie, it is still up front, it's still upright. And it hits the Freightliner. The impact destroys it. Just complete destruction of the front DVT. The 9 coaches behind all got moderate to severe damage. The loco at the back of this set of 9 coaches and 2 locos sustained damage, but compared to the other end, it survived basically. Now, the other end of this crash, the Freightliner, the impact smashes the driver's cab. Driver's cab is just destroyed. The whole right side of the Freightliner is damaged, and the 9 trucks full of coal get damaged as well. So you've got the 9 coaches with passengers in, the driver's cab of both trains, and the coal. Now, the impact was so big that the bogies on the Freightliner came off. And the Freightliner's carried on into someone's garden. And also, one of the coaches on the Class 225 has detached and ended up in a farmer's field. Now, at the time of the crash, the Freightliner is going 55 miles an hour. And the GNER service is going around 88 miles an hour. So the forces combined are quite substantial. With everything involved, the crash, the force of the impact, and everything like that, 10 people lost their lives. Both drivers, 2 additional train crew on board the GNER, and 6 passengers. Now, it could have been an awful lot worse. There were serious injuries, obviously. There was 52 serious injuries, 45 of which happened in the first 5 carriages and coaches of the Intercity. Now, the reason of that is because there was the buffet car at that end, and there was the first class cabins at that end as well. And all the injured, all 82 that were injured, were taken to hospital. The reason that was given because of how many fatalities there actually were that were deaths and the amount of people that survived, when the investigators actually looked at the carriages that were involved, their crash worthiness saved people's lives. They could have been worse. But train carriages, especially those ones that were used, were actually really well crash tested, and that saved more people from dying, thankfully. But also, the timing of the departure from Newcastle is probably what I think was the biggest help to this, because an Intercity 225, which is quite a big train as I've said, is meant to carry 535 people. Now, imagine that crash with a fully laden train. There'd have been more than 10 deaths. Thankfully, there wasn't that many people on board that train. 10 people unfortunately lost their lives, God rest their soul, but it could have been worse. Obviously, the emergency services are called to this incident. Now, back in 2001, there was a strain of foot and mouth disease in Britain. So when the emergency services got to the crash site, they had to do a full test for foot and mouth disease on either passengers and everything like that, so they didn't know so no one had it, because last thing you want is to put people with foot and mouth disease in a hospital full of people. Fortunately, as far as I'm aware, no one on board that train or anyone that was there for emergency service or anyone like that had foot and mouth disease. But that was a piece of information even I couldn't believe. They had to actually do a full decontamination for foot and mouth disease because of the current climate that was happening then. We now know what caused the crash. We now know what happened after the initial impact, and we now know that people unfortunately died. But the driver of the Defender, Gary Hart, was put on trial. His charge: death by dangerous driving. A charge he vehemently denied. He said there was something mechanically wrong with his Land Rover. There was something wrong with it, or he hit something on the M62. Now, I don't drive, but if there's something wrong with my car, I ain't driving it down the motorway where I go 70 miles an hour. Investigators looked into it. There was nothing wrong with his Land Rover Defender. Everything was fine with it. There was nothing wrong with the Defender at all. It then came out that he was sleep deprived, because it's been quoted in various sources that I've looked into. He was actually talking to a woman that not when he had the crash, but the night before he'd been speaking to a woman they'd met on a dating site, and he was tired. Now, you're driving down one of the busiest motorways in Britain, tired. There's a reason that now, in the 21st century especially, there are advertisements and everything saying, do not drive tired. And this was what they went to court for, because he basically caused death by dangerous driving. He drove tired. And on the 13th of December 2001, he was found guilty and charged with 5 years in prison and a 5-year driving ban. He was released in 2004, having only served half his sentence. Now, back when he was originally put on trial for this, there was campaigners that said, oh well, the barriers next to the motorway going up to the railway bridge are too short. Of course, it needs to be longer. And the health and safety executive had looked into it, and he actually left the road 30 yards before this barrier was in place to stop cars going down this embankment and onto the track. And the Highways Agency came out in 2003 and said their review had stated across the whole country there was only 3 bridges in the whole of the UK that needed their barriers extending. The Great Heck Bridge was not one that made the list. And following that, the High Court ruled that there had been no negligence, that the road bridge markings and the crash structure on the side of the motorway that prevents cars going into this embankment were fine. There was nothing wrong. And that was the end of that case. No one else was at fault. Fortunately, on that stretch of the M62, since 2001, there's not been another major rail disaster that's happened near Great Heck, or as it's more commonly known, the Selby rail disaster. Now, on the 20th anniversary of the Selby train disaster, there was a service held. Now, because of the current restrictions, the families of those who'd lost their lives couldn't go to Great Heck and be present there. But what happened was a LNER Azuma went through very slow, beeped its horn. A Freightliner loco went through slow and beeped their horn as a sign of respect. And also at Newcastle Station, the place where the train started its journey, there was a memorial service held there as well. And that concludes today's vlog on the Selby rail disaster. I do hope you enjoyed today's vlog. If you did, please like, share, comment, and also subscribe, and also hit the notification bell to never miss a video. I hope to see you all in the next one.